G'day there, ladies and ledians. Now, after reading the title, you may be thinking something along the lines of, what are you talking about? We just got a new Pokemon TCG last year. Now, I understand that sentiment, but I encourage you to stick around to hear what I have to say. While it is true that there are different ways to play the TCG, either physically or digitally, there is still a gap in terms of playing the TCG. And that is, of course, for console gamers. If I've got your attention, then I welcome you to listen to why we need a new Pokemon trading card game. So, the best place to start would be, well, to start. We did have one TCG game a long time ago on the Game Boy Color. I mean, there was a sequel, but it wasn't localized throughout the world. Now, back then there wasn't that many cards, as it was just starting out, but in this game, you would go around to battle different CPU boss battles while getting cards along the way. You could trade or battle with friends, and just overall enjoy the TCG in a more consumer-friendly way. Instead of buying packs over and over again with real world money, you could just buy this game once and build a variety of decks. Not only that, but a decent amount of single-player content and a beginner-friendly tutorial, while listening to some great music. Even nowadays, going back to it, it is charming, and the cards are way more simplified than modern Power Creep. I don't play the current TCG. I did use the client for the Sword and Shield era, so half a Generation 8. Besides that, I have bought some structure decks in the past to play with my siblings. Never anything serious though. It would be nice to have a dedicated game to experience this game. Compared to Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh, I would say that the Pokemon TCG is more straightforward in terms of complexity. It just sucks that the only official way to enjoy this game is through constant spending and gacha style elements. And so how would a newer iteration of the trading card game work? Well, there are a few ways to go about this. If we are aiming for a console game, why don't we also target another demographic while we're at it? The target audience being those that played it ages ago. The Pokemon TCG has a set rotation, and so there's a good chance that after the set has rotated out, some players will quit the game. So why don't we have every card available? Now you are probably raising an eyebrow, screaming Power Creep at the top of your lungs. There are three main ways to counter the set rotation Power Creep. The first would be to have different eras or generations of play. This would closely resemble the history of TCG releases. This would prevent Gen 1 Magikarp battling any kind of VMAX kind of thing. Relatively balanced, although since it would be older time periods, there's a good chance that everyone would look up the meta strategies at the time, making it a kind of mixed bag. The second way to combat Power Creep would be to have all cards adjusted to a similar power level. TCG Pocket was able to reprint older cards with adjusted stats to be more enticing, and a lot of the Power Creep in Pokemon comes from the numbers. Sure, there is the speed of energy or busted abilities, but for the most part it comes down to the HP and the damage numbers. One thing for sure though, if all cards were equalized, it would be a fresh meta. Buster strategies from all the new sets would re-emerge and battle it out. With so much to choose from, it would be super diverse and help to make each player's deck feel unique. You get the nostalgia kids battling the latest generation and so on. Either way, the third one I feel like that could be implemented would be more of a ban list. Mixing some old cards and new would require some cards to be left out for balance reasons, and I bet there's some previous generations where it was dominated by a single deck. Having a few cards out of the game should also help to bring more diversity. Personally, I like the second option. Having every card adjusted for Power Creep sounds super exciting. I'll go further on this topic, but I think I should cover how the game will play. The following ways to implement the TCG can each be seen as an individual game mode or be the entire game. First is story mode. Now, this can follow the anime or games or just be an entirely new thing. It would be cool to see what each character's deck would be. Would it be based off a strategy or type of Pokemon? Across all 9 gens, there's so much content to go through or to choose from. Have random tournaments and evil teams ambushing you. You can have fights where you're linked into a structure deck or need to play by certain rules. There would be so much variety in the opponents that it would be amazing. Of course, from battles you would earn points and use them to buy booster packs to improve your collection and deck building choices. You mobile players might be confused by that, so let me reiterate. You don't need to use real world money to buy cards. This game will be a one-time purchase for Switch or Switch 2, preferably Switch 1. Nintendo might try to charge full price for it, but if I'm being honest, for this kind of thing, I can see it being $30 to $40 US. Think about that for a second. For one purchase, and you get access to all cards, a cool story mode, and of course the ability to trade and battle with friends or strangers online. Doesn't that sound cool? Which brings me to, of course, ranked. Now, I don't think it would need much. Better to see where your deck and skill is placed on a worldwide leaderboard or within certain ranks. We all kinda know what ranked entails. Not much to really explain. Next is tournament mode, where it is also pretty straightforward. I don't know how much I need to explain it, but one thing that would be cool is some structure deck tournaments or modes so that literally anyone can jump in and play without worrying about deck building. Versus mode. Again, don't need to explain. Another mode that could be implemented though would be raid battles. I think I've heard about this, where instead of battling each other, you team up to battle a super boss. I think this would be very nice, a bit of a change of pace, you know? This can be tied to events, for example, and be a time-sensitive thing, or be against a random boss. Now, in a perfect world, this wouldn't require Nintendo Switch Online, but I think it's realistic to say that there probably would be an MSO requirement for this game. Now, here's the most interesting part of the sales pitch. Are you ready? What if there were unique rules that weren't in the regular TCG? For example, with the entire history of cards, let's make it so that there is no limit on how many of a named Pokemon you can have in your deck. You can still have the limit on each card, but cards that share the same name can be as many as you want. Want a team for Pikachu? You're good. How about a team of H/slash only Pokemon, switching between various Sword and Shield forms? You name it, you can build a deck around it. But why stop there? What if we had colorless mode? We have energy cards, but the energy cards count as any energy. This will allow for more diverse teams. You can have a team based on 3 starter Pokemon without worrying about the type of energy. How about all fossil Pokemon? Currently you can do 1 color, maybe 2 in a deck and be fine, but with this you can have all the types and be fine. Doesn't that sound interesting? All cards, unlimited Pokemon with the same name, and unrestricted energy? Each of these adds so many more decks to be made, and each of these could be options. Imagine all 3 combined. It would be truly a deck building game where anything could be possible. I think the number of combinations will be worth it alone, and for the player, how about unlocking alternative arts of cards? Some people buy the cards just for collecting them, so let's appeal to that market too. Have old arts that have been printed, or create entirely new arts for cards. Collecting each card and its old will add to the replayability of this game, and this game could be used for official tournaments. So I feel like there is nothing really to go against this idea, but I will need to know what you guys think. Does this sound like a dream come true, or am I just wishful thinking for such a niche game? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching.